Alright, all you listeners to the madness, and I guess a couple of you wrestling fans out there, welcome back to Under the Radar. And now it's time for us to talk about what happened during this weekend's pay-per-view, only known as Summerslam, from the Thunderdome in Orlando, Florida. And apparently, since the maestro said the wand broke, we're not getting any thunder sound effects, but at the same time, I'm surprised we didn't mention the whole 33 and a third tagline we usually do whenever it's a 33 anniversary of anything around here, which maestro said technically we already did. Right. Well, besides all that, folks, SummerSlam would kick off with the pre-show match, which would see Apollo Crews going one-on-one against MVP for the United States Championship. Now, prior to this match taking place, besides all the cool pyrotechnics of the Thunderdome, which this would technically be the first time we've seen this magnificent structure, and not to mention the whole pictures of people looking all around the ring, for some strange reason reminds me of the final boss fight of Episode 1 of Phantasy Star Online. Yeah, it sort of gave me the creeps, and I got a feeling they're gonna try to manipulate that somewhere around Halloween, but what do I know? Because outside of that, folks, you would see MVP hitting the ring with brand new entrance music back to his 2006 career, a part of WWE, when he created the song called Ballin'. Yeah, now using it as his entrance music, a part of the Hurt Business. And would that help him during this match with no backup in sight? Well, during this match, action would go back and forth, and would see MVP trying to get the better of Apollo Crews with that boot wash in the corner, only to receive an enziguri to the back of the head for a near fall, and then would see Apollo Crews take things into overdrive by not only doing double splashes in the corner and just beating the ever-living daylight's flag tag out of MVP, but would also see Apollo Crews countering the play of the day, or the dreaded overdrive, according to New Legacy Inc., leading directly into the Cruise Missile Powerbomb for Apollo Crews to win and retain his United States Championship via pinfall. And not to mention, he did do a standing shooting star press after that beatdown in the corner, but yeah, that's self-explanatory at this point with the fact that he already won the match. And the next match to take place to officially kick off SummerSlam with plenty of pyrotechnics, which would see Bayley going one-on-one against the Empress of Tomorrow, Asuka, for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And during this match, Asuka came out of this match. First thing she did was kick the living daylights out of Bayley during this match, and not to mention doing a nasty German suplex and also a leaping DDT off the stairs onto the floor on the Bayley, causing her to scream out in pain and grab her collarbone, which had me worried for a minute until the later goings of this match, where Bayley would come back with not only a Bayley to belly, but also a knee breaker on the apron, taking out the leg offense of Asuka, and would continue to try to take out the offense of Asuka by doing knee bars and even an Indian deathlock during this match. But you would also see Bayley hitting two jaw-jacking stunners and one from Brett's robe, reminding me sort of the Eclipse from Ember Moon. Miss her in the ring, by the way, but still for only a 2. But the Empress of Tomorrow during this set contest would not go down without a fight, because then she would try to go for an armbar during this set contest. But unfortunately, with Sasha Banks at ringside playing cheerleader, yeah, let's just say that she would be more focused on Sasha Banks than on the prize at hand, and would pay for it on 2 separate occasions. Not only with a sneaky roll-up by Bayley for a near fall, and not to mention after the hip attack that Sasha Banks would decide to take in place of Bayley, she would be able to get a roll-up, a small package more or less, thank you for the correction, Maestro, for Bayley to retain her championship and continue her reign over the SmackDown Women's Division via pinfall. And after the match was over, immediately heading into the ring would see Sasha Banks beating the ever-living daylights flag tag out of Asuka. Then for Bayley to join in to hit a double power bomb in the center of the ring on the Empress after the match was over to soften her up for later on the night. Which was a smart move, but at the same time, would it help her win? We'll have to find out that answer to that cliffhanger question immediately after these next couple of matches. Because the next match to take place at SummerSlam would see none other than the Street Profits going one-on-one against Andrade Cien Almas and Angel Garza. Now, for the Raw Tag Team Champions, they would have a very special entrance for this year's SummerSlam in the form of a whole bunch of red solo cups raining from the skies, not only on the stage, but also amongst the fans of the Thunderdome, which had me wondering, who in the world is gonna clean all that up? Seriously, all those solo cups that rain from the sky, who's gonna clean those up? And we almost forgot to mention that Kevin Owens was at ringside to commentate on this match, and for a little bit of added protection, just in case Retribution came along. And I got a feeling he wasn't even needed, because during this match, action would go back and forth and would see Angel Garza throwing a series of nasty kicks at Montez Ford, but Montez Ford, who was still riled up and angry about getting poisoned, would come back during this match with a rope flip suicida over the ropes, and unfortunately would get caught out of mid-flight by Angel Garza and Andrade, actually picking him up and hitting him with a disgusting double power bomb on the outside of the ring, and it would still be for a near fall. But when Montez Ford got out of the match and none other than Angelo Dawkins was in the match, things would get ugly in a hurry, because even though he would get hit in the face with that fake out elbow strike by Andrade, he would come back with a nasty spear, and then once Montez Ford would get back into this match after he would tag out, that's when things would go wrong for the team of Andrade and company, because he would get hit in the face with a nasty kick by Angel Garza, putting Montez on spaghetti legs, running directly into Zelina Vega, for Zelina Vega to fall off the apron, and for none other than Angel Garza to have no backup because his partner would check on Zelina Vega on the outside of the ring. For him to call out for his partner in the form of Andrade, for him to get hit, him meaning Angel Garza, with the cash out spine buster, and then one of the most impressive frog splashes we've seen since Rob Van Dam several years ago, with Montez Ford pulling off his From the Heavens frog splash in a 180 formation for the tag team champions to retain their tag team belts via pinfall. And it was confirmed as of this past week, the team of the Street Profits are now officially one of the longest reigning Raw Tag Team Champions in history. Not bad, but still won't beat the record of the New Day, which I do believe is well over, 476 days? I could be wrong, folks. But yeah, beating out Demolition's record that stood the test of time. But besides record-beating performances, folks, the next match to take place on this card, which would see none other than Mandy Rose going one-on-one against Sonya Deville in a no disqualification loser leaves WWE match. Yes, that's right, folks. Apparently, while Music Village was going on, we almost forgot that apparently the rules have changed. Yeah, apparently instead of getting their hair cut, they're gonna get a pink slip instead. And would that change the momentum during this match? Why, yes it would. Because Sonya Deville would try to bring out the best out of Mandy Rose during this match, only for Mandy Rose to get her revenge by not only banging the head of Sonya Deville against the announce table, then not only that, but trying to set up a table, took a little bit too long, would get hit in the gut with a chair, and would even get put in a modified version of a dragon sleeper during this match with a leg vice, still not willing to tap out. But then would see Sonya Deville making a critical mistake by taking her opponent too lightly during this match throughout all the things that happened during it. which would see Sonya Deville not only pulling off not 1, not 2, not 3, but I do believe 4 Tiger knees to the face of one Sonya Deville during this match, followed up with her implant buster or double underhook pancake move that she was able to do during this match for Mandy Rose to win this match and to live to fight another day via pinfall. And immediately after this match was over, you would then see Mandy Rose in the ring with none other than Otis celebrating her victory by pulling off a caterpillar that apparently, according to the announcers, was bad, but apparently they did not see the one that Trish Stratus tried to do back in the day when she was a part of WWE. And that was the worm back then, so I don't know. You know, we need to have some form of side-to-side comparison to see who was better at doing the worm, Mandy Rose or Trish Stratus, and I got a feeling it's a tie between the two. I don't know. Well, besides post-match celebrations, folks, the next match to take place on this set card would see none other than the debuting Dominic Mysterio going one-on-one against CrossFit Jesus, the Monday Night Messiah, but most importantly known to us here in the world of the shows that we do on a weekly basis, Seth Rollins in a street fight. And during this match, Seth Rollins doing the number one thing that he shouldn't have done in this match is taking his opponent too lightly. Even though Samoa Joe said that he's playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers, yeah, it just proved to me that he was just playing around with Dominic Mysterio during this match. And oh, before we go any further into the match, folks, we almost forgot to mention Seth Rollins to further get into the head of Dominic Mysterio would wear an outfit that paid homage to Rey Mysterio back at Halloween Havoc in 1995, where he went one-on-one against Eddie Guerrero during that said pay-per-view. And speaking of pay-per-views, to dive further into the special outfits that took place this past weekend, something we forgot to mention for TakeOver 30, Bronson Reed did a shout-out to Bam Bam Bigelow with his outfit, and Damian Priest did a shout-out to not only Shawn Michaels but Reza Ramon during the ladder match at TakeOver 30. Yeah, something we forgot to mention and something that we forgot to say was absolutely cool by all three of these gentlemen. And speaking of cool, ladies and gentlemen, during this match where Seth Rollins would try to egg on Rey Mysterio to get involved in this match against the wishes of Dominic Mysterio, would then see Dominic come back during this match with not only a crucifix arm drag during this said contest, but also countering the Monday Night Messiah on the top rope after getting hit with a kendo stick into a white Russian leg sweep from Brett's rope through a table for a near fall. And I do believe that was followed up with an Eddie Guerrero-like frog splash for that near fall too. But then we'd see Dominic Mysterio turn up the trouble during this match the second after his mom was threatened during this said contest, not only taking out the Monday Night Messiah, throwing Murphy right directly into the side walls, and even hitting him with a back suplex, or more or less a big back body drop during this match, and even hitting none other than the Monday Night Messiah with a modified version of a 619, sort of what Sasha Banks does during some of her matches, and even following it up with a nasty 619, but unfortunately could not follow it up with the frog splash. And Seth Rollins during this match will come back with not only a sling blade and also his suplex Falcon Arrow at the same event where he would debut it for the WWE Universe, but it would only get him a near fall. But after that frog splash that Dominic Mysterio would miss, Seth Rollins would say playtime is over and decide to actually handcuff Rey Mysterio to the rope. And while he was handcuffed and while Dominic Mysterio was trying to reach out for his father, Seth Rollins would put the lights out on Dominic Mysterio's first match with a blackout stomp to the back of the head, and for Seth Rollins to win this match via pinfall. And after the match was over, would drop the keys to the handcuffs in the hand of one Dominic Mysterio before heading up the ramp celebrating what he just done. And yeah, in my opinion, for the first match for Dominic Mysterio this past weekend, excellent job, Dominic, and I can't wait to see what sort of crazy Lucha Libre moves you decide to do to carry on the Mysterio legacy in the near future. Because I got a feeling within the next 10 years, maybe even less, we're gonna see some very impressive next level like moves from Dominic Mysterio in the world of WWE. And speaking of next level like moves, folks, the next match to take place during this said pay-per-view of SummerSlam would see none other than Asuka going one-on-one against the Boss, the Blueprint, and the Standard of WWE, none other than Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship. Now, before this match can even begin, outside of the pyrotechnics and the fancy outfits, you would hear one of the announcers, and I do believe it was Tom Phillips, actually mention that Sasha Banks would not have one successful title defense under her singles career history with any of the belts she's ever held, and that would be an automatic red flag. And a little bit of bad luck on the case of Sasha Banks, because despite her still going after the leg that was already hurt in the prior match, in the beatdown that she gave Asuka prior in the first match that took place tonight, Asuka would still come back with a little bit of fury during this said contest to try to take out the Blueprint during this match. But not to take anything away from Sasha Banks, she would be able to counter an alley-oop bomb out of the corner with a double knee strike for a near fall, and would even be able to do a corkscrew sunset flip power bomb to the outside of the ring that made a nasty thud to the outside, proving that it was a disgusting power bomb that we should have led that with that corkscrew bomb she did to the outside. Still very impressive. But ultimately, this match would come to an emphatic end where Bayley would get her just desserts during this match after trying to interfere in this match on a multitude of occasions, with her getting a spinning back fist to the face, causing her to fall down to the ground, for the Boss to try to do her makeshift bank statement, only for it to get reversed into the Asuka lock on several different occasions, to the point where the Boss couldn't fight anymore and would just try to scream out for her best friend Bayley, almost the same way Kairi Sane tried to scream out for Asuka to get her revenge and her women's championship back via submission. And after the match was over, Bayley would get questioned about the fact that she didn't really help out her best friend or take the bullet the same way that she did earlier in the night. And yeah, little dissension in the ranks heading into the Payback pay-per-view that's gonna take place next Sunday. Will we review it? I'm still up in the air on that one. But besides my decision on that pay-per-view, folks, the next match to take place on this said pay-per-view would see none other than the Scottish Terminator and the Chosen One, Drew McIntyre, going one-on-one against the Legend Killer, the Viper, the Apex Predator, and apparently, according to Drew McIntyre, a selfish prick, Randy Orton, for the WWE Championship. And before this match can even begin, Randy Orton going back to his Legend Killer days in true with his entrance by having back his reigning pyro during the entrance for his match. Nice! And I do believe this will be the first time we would see the reigning pyro of Randy Orton in full effect since, 2005, 2006? I could be wrong with that number, folks, but then you would also see Drew McIntyre with a brand new Titantron in the form of not only a Claymore fight, but blue flames underneath his name and some cool pyrotechnics for him as well, which was very impressive in this Thunderdome. But besides fancy pyrotechnics, lighting, and everything else that happened before this match, during this said contest, you would see Randy Orton trying to hit multiple amounts of RKOs during this said contest, only to realize who he was in the ring with Randy Orton getting tossed pillar to post with not only a double-armed suplex and a belly-to-belly suplex out of the corner, but would also see outside of the ring Randy Orton getting the better of Drew McIntyre with a back suplex onto the announce table, and even hitting his hesitation DDT with a little bit of chicanery as well by actually trying to take out the eye of Drew McIntyre by putting a thumb in it, and causing him to bleed too. Yikes! But this match would come to an end again after Randy Orton would hit that hesitation DDT, and not to mention with Drew McIntyre trying to pay homage to all of the legends who went before him, and even pulling out a figure 4 leg lock in shades of Ric Flair, would see Randy Orton missing that punt kick, Drew McIntyre missing the Claymore kick, Randy trying to go for yet one more RKO, but unfortunately getting caught with a backslider for Drew McIntyre to win this match and retain his WWE Championship without using a Claymore kick via pinfall. Wow! I mean, granted, we did see Drew McIntyre pull off a Future Shock DDT during this match, but the fact that he wasn't able to win this match with a finisher and with a simple backslider on Randy Orton, catching him sleeping, very impressive, Drew. Very impressive indeed. And the next match to take place during this SummerSlam match card for this year would be the main event of the evening, which would see none other than The Fiend going one-on-one against the Quilted Quicker Picker-Upper Braun Strowman in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the Universal Studios of Orlando, Florida's championship. And during this match, and I do believe Michael Cole warned everybody at home, this would not be for the faint at heart, and this would get bowling shoe ugly. And that quote I took from JR, because it did get bowling shoe ugly, because you would see The Fiend not only starting this match by beating the brakes off of Braun Strowman, but also hitting him with a double neck snap, almost to what the shades he did to Finn Balor on his debut at SummerSlam. That was just about well over a year ago now. Wow, how time flies. And also during this match would also see The Fiend break out a toolbox, probably circa Hell in a Cell from last year, hit Braun Strowman in the stomach, then in the face, only for Braun Strowman to come back during this match by throwing The Fiend through the barricade, or actually tackling him through the barricade, and even choke slamming him on the announce table, still to no avail. And by the way, he choke slammed him and The Fiend landed spine first on that silver part of the announce table, and the table just collapsed afterwards but didn't really break. Yeah, painful. And Braun Strowman would then take things to the gorilla position, throwing The Fiend back and forth between the walls for The Fiend to come back and hit a Sister Abigail on the floor for a near fall. Then you would see Braun Strowman come back during this match by not only throwing The Fiend against the LED apron board during this match, and would even see Braun Strowman getting so frustrated during this match after 2 power slams would lead to near falls, and would say, "What do I gotta do?" And then a light bulb would pop up over his head and decide to go Tommaso Ciampa and get a box cutter from underneath the ring, cut the ring apart, take too much time while doing so, for The Fiend to come back during this match with not one but 2 Sister Abigails on the hard wood underneath the ring, for The Fiend to slay the monster and become your 2-time Universal Studios of Orlando, Florida's champion via pinfall. But that wouldn't be it, folks, because immediately after the Fiend would win the championship, from out of nowhere, and seriously, from out of nowhere, next thing you would see is a blur of long black hair and a person wearing a black shirt and black pants in the form of Roman Reigns spearing the ever-living daylights out of the Fiend, and then would go on to actually go outside the ring to spear Braun Strowman as well, by telling him not only that he made him, but he wouldn't be a monster without him, and you're not a monster unless I'm around here, and then would proceed to hit him with multiple amount of chair shots. Then would finish up the night by going back inside the ring and spearing the Fiend once again, telling him that you're just a freak with paint and that you're not meant for that Universal Championship. That championship was made for me. Even though Finn Balor was the first one to hold it, and I do believe Roman Reigns was, 5th, 6th in line for that belt to be on the championship list? So I don't think that belt was really made for you, sir. But the funniest thing mentioned during the night after all this was said and done was the fact that none other than the Ultimate Bro himself would come out on the watch-along and say, well, there goes my push. Damn it! At least give me one more month to be on top. You gotta love Matt Riddle, folks. You really gotta love Matt Riddle. And with that comment, folks, we'll wrap up SummerSlam for this year. And join us next time, ladies and gentlemen, where we may or may not wrap up this entire summer of RPG by mentioning a pay-per-view that's going to take place in less than a week in the form of Payback from the Thunderdome in Orlando, Florida. Really trying to crank out these pay-per-views to test out the arena, I see. Right. And with that said, folks, we might as well grab a glass of water, and when we return, we'll be back with more madness as Under the Radar rolls on, right after this. So don't go anywhere just yet, folks, and stay tuned.